A new sign-off was suggested to replace See Me Next Week, and it's really good, and I'm going to start using it at the end of this episode. Someone sent me this sweater that says Lyle, and I don't know why. Did I at some point say I looked like Lyle Menendez? It's hard to remember because so much of this is bullshit, but it feels like... And Lyle's the good one, or the other one's the good? Are they both good? They're both bad? I haven't paid super close attention to that story over the years. But I will say, being a father now, I can say with certainty, I don't think what they did was cool. Corrections, Emmy nominated, and yeah, why not, right? I've been very bullish on our chances of winning the gold, but then I saw the quality of the other nominees, and my expectations are lower now. If I've learned anything from my time in television, it's that if The Daily Show's in your category, thank you for coming. But this is some cool Emmy news, which was announced even before the telecast. Our main show finished 4th. Or at least I hope so. Hey, but Corrections doesn't need to win anything. For me, not to enjoy doing it. You know what I mean? Like, we don't need to be vindicated or whatever the right word is. We know it's special, We do. To paraphrase that psycho stalker from Love Actually, to me, it's perfect. Now, on to this week's Sal and Emily back and forth. So Sal writes in a closer look that the 10-year anniversary is the diamond anniversary, and then Emily fact checks it. She's like, no, the 10-year anniversary is tin or platinum, and this is not the first time that they've had this argument over this very specific detail, because when they had the 10-year anniversary of working together, Sal, you remember, got Emily a beautiful diamond brooch, and then Emily got Sal a little box that has some dog in it. Okay. I said a 69 was when both couples invert. Obviously, there's only one, I misspoke. There's only one couple in a 69. If there's a second couple, it's a whole nother thing. It's like a 6,996 or a 6,699. You can do it a lot of different ways. I will say, and again, everyone's sexual journey is their own. I would try to nail down a 69 before you do any of the bigger numbers. I'll tell you my least favorite of all of them, 691. That's when you're doing a 69 and someone's just like sort of standing there watching. I don't mind them watching, I just don't like them being so close, So I like for example, I love a 6,918. That's when you're doing a 69 and someone's watching from one house over with a pair of binoculars. This all works. If you write these down, these all work. I sang a EDM version of the Good Ship Lollipop. That's electronic dance music for you, Shoemaker, because you didn't know. You didn't know what the I was talking about. Shoemaker's EDMs are erectile dysfunction meds. I said, the EDM version of Good Ship Lollipop should be Good Ship Mollipop, and you're right. Molly's ecstasy shoe. We played the sound of a dolphin, and I was told the sound effect we played was actually the sound of a porpoise. And if I know the tricksters in the sound department, they made that mistake intentionally. We've been talking a lot about Jeffrey Epstein this week. All negative. In fact, Sal, one might say a little one-sided. And a jackal wrote in asking, how have we never, in all our talk about Epstein, made a joke referencing the Welcome Back Kotter character Epstein and how he would bring in notes signed Epstein's mother? We literally just had this conversation. And we decided that to make a Welcome Back Kotter reference would be a mistake because many in our audience would not be old enough to get the reference. And this is Bayes' hard, fast rule. Never write a joke that Epstein would get, but one of his girlfriends wouldn't. Remember, he always says, what's my first rule? Last week was our loudest corrections laugh-wise. Not because it was funniest, but because we got the buck and we got the truck. We had the buck and the truck, and that triples the yucks. We've been talking about the Star Wars character Moff Tarkin a lot. What's his name? Where's he from? What's his title? We've been digging into the details. Moff diving, if you will. And if you won't, I don't blame you for that. We had a really funny graphic where we used Peter Cushing, the actor who played Moff Tarkin. And I feel like, I felt like it was a tribute. Somebody wrote in, I feel like Peter Cushing would be so happy that he's dead and didn't have to see that. We did a moth play on words. And some of you pointed out, there is a character in the Star Wars universe named Mon Mothma. Wouldn't she have been better for that play on words? Yes. Obviously, you've got us there. Speaking of home planets, because I made one up, and obviously the Star Wars fan base wants to make sure we get it right. Moff Tarkin is from Iriada, and of course, Mon Mothma is from Jamaica. Mon. I went hard at our director last week for missing a cue in last week's corrections. It was entirely my fault. I had not given him the cue in advance. But let me stress that when it is my fault, I am still allowed to yell at him. I am the host, and that is my right. Tried Andy last week, and he didn't answer. And that made for good TV. Let me try again. Just a reminder of what we're going for is his favorite line in the Nick Cage film, Captain Corelli's Mandolin. If he answers, we'll hear it. And if not, we'll push it a week. Because what else are we going to do? I might ask him to set his answering machine to pick up earlier. I'm feeling better about the Emmy. A British jackal wrote in that Madarse Meth Eyes is an anagram for Seth Meyers, so thanks for that. We showed a picture of Donald Trump and said he looked like a garbage man. A garbage man is an outdated term, I was told. It suggests a man is not a good person. A sanitation worker is a preferred term. So to clarify, this is a picture of a garbage man. If there were an Emmy for Best Jackal, it would go to our friend Daryl, who has just been sending in some pretty incredible stuff. And he's been making some stuff for our writers, and they all came in a box today. Here's a Sal Gentile action figure, pitching for the Mets and wearing khakis. Sal's not a starter because he always misses the opening pitch because his train is late. Here's a Scallon, the mass hole. Scollins. The Amberita Ruffin, obviously, for a margarita lover, Amber Ruffin. There's a Jenny Hagel right there. And I'm going to take from the rainbow. Is Jenny gay? Not the way I wanted to find out. Leave him alone, Lutz. Also, very appreciate this. It's spelled very Star Wars. We're gonna pick it up. Leave Leev''A Malone. Nice touch. This I didn't care for. It's me, but it's like just a full Peter Cushing, which I'm like, you didn't want to do any work, just because he and I share a forehead. And then this is really nice. Chef Reese, that's Seth Reese, screenwriter of The Chef, co-screenwriter. We don't know which half he did. But Baze's head on a tray, and you can tell he used Paul Rudd's head. Anyway, I would just want to say to Daryl, these are very well-timed gifts, and I will distribute these to the writers you made. Because I think it sucks that our writing staff didn't get nominated for an Emmy. I think they're great. And look, I'm not saying they're better than anybody, but there's nobody better than them. And this is not me like saying I'm great or anything. I'm just saying our writing staff is great. Am I a member of the writing staff? Sure. If we had gotten nominated, would that also have been for me? Yes. So is this not really about me? Oh, you got me. Well, and again, I'm not, and by the way, I'm not gonna charge more for these than is reasonable. All right. You will see me next week. Until then, thrive in my absence.